All right, greetings. Welcome to News of the Day video. News of the day today is going to be once again a lot of talk about injuries, and yet a lot of talk about what we don't know regarding injuries, which is where it gets to the point where I don't even report on it. There's stuff that I know people are like, well, this guy's out tonight. Yeah, I know, but we don't know why. We don't know what's going on. We don't know when he's coming back. We just know he's out tonight. And so it's kind of, if I went with who's out tonight, there'd be a whole board full of players, and it's just tonight. He might be back next game, maybe not. And these day-to-day injuries turn into week, 2 week, 3 weeks in some cases. But it's just, he's not out, he's not in, he's not in, he's not in, he's not in. So anyways, we'll start with one that's done for the season. Joey Anderson in Columbus is likely done for the year. And for Columbus themselves, they may very well be done for the year pretty quick here. Columbus has had a lot of injuries to deal with, and eventually that wears you down. Columbus, even fully healthy, I think they're borderline as to whether or not they're a playoff team in the Metro. And so it makes it trickier when you're dealing with all these injuries night in and night out. And so it definitely puts them further down. And again, we talked about before the season started how Columbus was going to struggle, and they've overachieved beyond what any of us said they would do, but now the injuries have kind of made it more difficult. I would think if Carolina can string together a few victories here, within a couple of weeks we may be talking about how, well, Columbus isn't going to make it and what are they going to do for next year. Pierre Dorion has come out and said the obvious. He wants Mark Borowiecki to stay. Mark Borowiecki's kind of the perfect guy to continue this rebuild around, as the Ottawa Senators feel they should be coming out of it next season. Next season's when the pressure's actually on in Ottawa. That's where things should be getting better. Now, if they can win the draft lottery twice, if they could draft first and second, or even third and fifth, or fourth and sixth, honestly, if they draft twice in the top 10, and it looks 99% likely they will, they're at least going to get one guy who can play next season. They might get two. And so that's going to help. But having Borowiecki as kind of, not the centerpiece, but public face of the franchise, the guy that the reporters all talk to after the games, and just being, the guy in the locker room, I think it's important to make sure you've kept a veteran around. They could have traded Borowiecki at the deadline, but you can't just keep trading veterans constantly. And this is where Ottawa's going to get judged. Is not just, what they get for all these guys. Like, look at all these draft picks and prospects they picked up. Yay. Okay. Now, when these guys are up, they have to find a way to keep them. And they have to find a way to make sure that the contracts are reasonable and that they're being smart about it. Because all of the bluster about, we're going to win a cup in 5-7 years, or whatever it is, this prolonged excellence the team's never seen before that Melnyk claimed, in order to get there, they have to show they can keep players in this new core going forward. Because if players won't stick around, then it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. So I'll be very interested to see what happens with Borowiecki, because they do need to show they can keep veterans. And for Borowiecki, he may very well say, you know what, I've done my time here. I've paid my dues. I love Ottawa, but I want to see what's out there. I want to see how much money I can make. I want to see what I'm offered. Maybe he gets an offer from a contender in July where he can go and maybe win a cup or two. Maybe Pittsburgh makes him an offer. They want to fix their blue line. They want to get a little tougher on their blue line. They pick up Borowiecki, and maybe he goes there. And I don't think there'd be any hard feelings towards him from Ottawa fans ever, no matter what he does. The guy's a hero, and rightfully so. And I would be very interested to see what he does, because I think he'll be supported whether he decides to stay in Ottawa or not. Andreas Athanasiou, moving along to Oilers news, apparently won't be out for long. I haven't seen a timeline for that. Just apparently it's not supposed to be serious. But if they lose Athanasiou for any period of time, that's going to hurt. Now they get Cassian back next game, and Yamamoto's week to week. It's getting tougher. And the funny thing is that most teams are dealing with this. It feels like most teams are dealing with injury problems right now. And with the size of players, the speed of the game, and just in general the way that hockey's played now, I'm not surprised. And not only that, but shot blocking. The amount of shot blocking that goes on in the NHL right now, it is insane. It leads to a lot of injuries as well. And it's weird because shot blocking wasn't really even a thing, say 25, 30 years ago. Not like now. And there, you'd watch a guy dive to block a shot, and be like, what is he doing? And now it's just standard. We just take it for granted, but it does lead to injuries as well. And while I'm at it, I'm going to throw up here. There are lots of undisclosed injuries. Guys not playing. They're just the day to day, not playing, undisclosed, and they stop disclosing exactly what the injury is because they don't want teams to key on it. So a guy comes back and it's a shoulder injury. You will see every time he's near the boards, he's going to get thrown into the boards, and it's probably going to be the sore shoulder that gets thrown into the boards. Knee injury, you might kind of clip him a little bit, hit him a little bit. And as bad as that sounds, that's the way hockey was played, where a guy would come back and you go, well, they're going to test that knee out. They're going to test that shoulder. Hey, he had a bad elbow. They're going to test that tonight. And you would see guys get re-injured. So this is why teams go with lower body, upper body. Well, when it's lower body or upper body, you can kind of tell what it is. So now it's just sort of, it's a physical thing on their physical form. Pretty soon it's going to be, it's a metaphysical injury. It's a theoretical injury that the guy suffered. We're not going to admit that it's physical. And then eventually it'll just be, he's sad. He's not in the lineup. He's out for the next 4 weeks because he's sad. We saw him in a cast. That's his sad cast. His foot was sadder than the rest of them. He's sad. He was going to be out for 4 weeks. They'll get more and more general to the point where nobody even asks him anymore. Speaking of which, Vancouver, Markstrom, he's going to be evaluated in 2 weeks. He had a lower body procedure. Does that mean surgery? Lower body procedure could be anything. Could be foot massage. Could be nice. Sore foot massage. Could be a prostate exam. Doesn't sound nice. Colonoscopy. We just don't know. We know he had an MRI, and that he had a lower body procedure. And they're reevaluating him in 2 weeks, which means he's going to be out for a while. Because the less information that you get on an injury, the more scared you get that it's going to be a while. Remember Giordano, week to week, and it was about a month. So, right? And he still hasn't made his return. I believe he makes his return tonight. We'll see. And I also wanted to throw in, while the Canucks logo's on the board, please keep Tyler Toffoli. Toffoli, I don't think he's going to produce in a Vancouver jersey the way he has his first 3 games. But there's just this natural chemistry he has in Vancouver. What drives me nuts, it's driven me nuts with Vancouver for many, many years, is when they bring in a guy at the deadline who really clicks. And then you see him sign somewhere else, and you're like, but they probably could have matched that. So hopefully they can sit down and work out a contract. I know they have cap issues. I know they're going to have cap issues next year. There are ways to figure that out. You can carry extra cap money through the summer and find ways to ship money out. I would like to see him stay in Vancouver. I don't know if other Canuck fans agree, but I'd like to see him stay in Vancouver. Bouwmeester will not play the rest of this season. So the Blues confirmed yesterday. I didn't do a video on it specifically because I felt, they're just confirming what we already know. And that Bouwmeester will not play for the rest of this season, which includes playoffs. I don't know how it would work. I don't know how you could put him back on the ice. He has a device in his chest that basically regulates his heart. So the idea of him playing a game where he's going to be getting, potentially thrown around and hit, it's just, I think the risk is too high, and I would be very surprised if he plays again. But if St. Louis wins back-to-back cups this year, I would expect him out on the ice in skates, full gear, his jersey and everything, and the cup to be handed off to him. I would think, I know the captain takes it first. I would think it would go to Bouwmeester first, rather than the captain. And then he would carry it around the ice. But, again, that's way out there. That's in June. For now, we know he won't play for the rest of this season. So, Sportsnet's power rankings came out today, and it reminded me why and I understand people don't like my power rankings either. That's fine. It's fair. I update my power rankings every day, and that's just, that's how it works. And they've changed a lot over the last few days. Well, as I say, since Saturday, because some of the top teams are really struggling. Sportsnet still has Boston at number 1. I'm thinking, no, they're not number 1. Not on mine. I can't. I just can't have them at number 1 with the way they've been playing recently. And so and then I see Nashville at 19, and I'm like, really? Because they've been playing really well for about a month now. But again, then they do grading on the general managers, which general managers did well at the deadline and which ones didn't. And I thought, all right, I'm going to read this. I'm probably going to get mad, and I did. So I just want to throw in there, if the Canucks missed the playoffs, there are plenty of Canucks fans that went into the comment section to mention this too. They keep their first round draft pick if they miss the playoffs. So what is said in the power rankings is, if the Canucks don't make the cut, Jim Benning's going to have egg on his face and he's going to be sitting out until the third round. If the Canucks make the playoffs, he won't have egg on his face. So, reading between the lines in that, I read it as well as, if they miss the playoffs, he'll be sitting out until the third round with egg on his face, won't have a draft pick. But they do keep their first if they miss the playoffs. So I thought that part of the article, I was like, okay, but no. And then people were mentioning, and then, of course, others came in and went, well, he didn't say playoffs. He just said they don't make the cut. He didn't say playoffs. Right, but the insinuation is there. If they make the playoffs, they've made the cut. If Vancouver makes the playoffs and they go out in the first round, I think Vancouver fans everywhere will take that. I think they would be happy with that. They'd be like, finally a playoff game in Vancouver for the first time in 5 years. Something to build on. These young guys get into some playoff action and they get that experience. That's important for guys like Horvat and for Pettersson, for Hughes. For these young kids to have the playoff experience and experience that playoff hockey is really important. So I don't think that saying they won't make the cut means if they lose in the first round. I think he's saying if they don't make the cut, but he didn't clarify. Then he grades the general managers. He gives Kyle Dubas a B. Now, he included Clifford and Campbell being acquired, which is fine. Campbell's been a good pickup. But you can't look at what happened on Monday with him just picking up Calle Rosen and see that as a B. And then at the same time, have Joe Sakic as a C+, because all he did was pick up Hutchinson and Nemesnikov. Well, wait a minute. He picked up Nemesnikov for the cheap. You look at what Tampa Bay paid for Barclay Goodrow. And I know people say, well, Goodrow's also putting up 8 goals. This is, I think, a career high for him points-wise. And Nemesnikov has 4 shorthanded goals, and he's been pretty solid for Ottawa defensively. I think Nemesnikov was the better pickup. And the criticism of Sakic that drives me nuts is, and I see this a lot with media here in Canada, where it's, okay, Colorado has cap space, so they're going to use that up, right? And then they don't, and it's like, well, why aren't they using up their cap space? They've got cap space. Why don't they use it? Why aren't they using their cap space? They could have used their cap space to bring somebody in. I will say to them what I say to other people. Show your work. Who are they bringing in? They're not just going to take a cap dump from another team so a year or two from now they can't sign other players. The teams that are at the cap, a lot of them, not thinking ahead. Not thinking, hey, so there's other years after this one. We might be screwed next year. And for Sakic, he's probably looking at this young kid named Cale Makar. He's pretty good and saying, we're going to have to pay him, so I don't want to take on a bunch of contract money. And even if you want to say, well, it could have been a rental. Yeah, he could have picked up a rental, but maybe he looks at his lineup and goes, yeah, we're fine. And maybe the Grubauer injury won't be that bad, or maybe he believes in Pavel Francouz. He signs Francouz to a 2-year extension, and the kid goes out and gives him a shutout. Now, I know Francouz isn't that young. I can call him a kid because I'm older. I don't understand Sakic getting a C+. I really don't understand David Poile getting a C. Nashville's been playing really well for like about the last 6 weeks. And you expect him to go out and do what? So, and what I saw, the quote was that maybe he wasn't able to find, get rid of the players that he wanted to get rid of. Actually, let me just track this down. Because it did. It is one of those things that's like, well, what? Wait, what? David Poile's not one to shy away from a splash. The GM is to essentially remain silent around the deadline. And then in brackets, we see you, Corbinian Holzer. Tells you all you need to know about A, the market value of the players he'd like to get rid of, and B, the faith that he has in this this is the Preds' year. It doesn't mean he thinks it's the Preds' year. It means he's looking at the team and going, they're going pretty darn well right now. I don't want to mess with the chemistry that we've got. So that's how I take it. And so I don't understand Poile getting a C when the team's doing really well. Well, there's not much value, I guess, for the guys he wants to get rid of. Who does he want to get rid of? Kyle Turris? No, there wouldn't be a huge market for Kyle Turris. And you don't want to make a trade just for the sake of making a trade, as Kevin Cheveldayoff said this week. Gives Gorton a B- for the Rangers keeping Chris Kreider. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say if they had traded Chris Kreider for futures, Gorton would have got a bad grade too, because it would have been why are they selling off Kreider when they're right near the playoffs? That sends the wrong message to Rangers fans, and they're pulling the plug. Right? Sweeney gets an A just to prove that I'm not picking and choosing here, and I'm not just playing favorites. Sweeney doesn't deserve an A. Now, trading out Backes, okay, but while I like Kasha a lot, he has to show he can stay healthy. He's making his debut for the Bruins tonight. We'll see if he can stay healthy, or if he skates onto the ice for the practice or for a pregame skate and falls down and goes, my ankle, and we'll see, right? And so there is a price they paid in a first round draft pick that may not end up being much of anything. Sure, maybe, but maybe it is. Maybe it's a number 25 pick. Maybe it's another Pasternak that they ended up trading away to Anaheim. So the idea that Sweeney gets an A when he gave up a draft pick, and then in the same article he talks about Barclay Goodrow, and that's a B because they, but he gave away 2 draft picks for Coleman and Goodrow, and that's a B. And I thought, well, wait, no, I don't. The whole grading thing is weird. And this is why when people say, winners and losers at the deadline, I try not to play that. I will tell you I like what certain teams did at the deadline. I will tell you I have questions about what certain teams did at the deadline. I don't declare winners and losers because on deadline day and in deadline week, we don't know. We don't know. For all we know, Barclay Goodrow goes out in the playoffs, scores four game-winning goals for Tampa, puts them over the top, and they win a Stanley Cup. In which case, their GM, Brisebois, looks like an absolute genius. And maybe the Canucks absolutely flame out from here. Maybe Toffoli's 5 points in 3 games. Maybe those are the only 5 points he scores, and everything dies off from here. But we don't have any idea. And maybe Nashville ends up winning. Let's say Nashville ends up winning 2 rounds. Do you still give Poile a C then for what he did at the deadline? No. So it's one of those things, and I know it's one of those things that I know started the channel for me. Because I get asked every now and then, why'd you start the channel? This is part of the reason why. I would read things online and I'd go, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then I would start up the webcam and do a video. And here we are. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Regarding the grades, you'll notice Benning also gets a B-, the same as Gorton, and better than Sakic with a C+. Did Benning have a better trade deadline than Sakic? I don't think so. I think Sakic did quite well for himself. I'm not entirely sure, and everybody wants to just throw dirt on Florida and talk about how stupid they are, but I don't know. I mean, Trocheck, it really wasn't working out for him in Florida, so do you just hold on to him and hope things turn around and he gets happy, or do you make a move and pick up something? What if they re-sign Hala? Again, it's so bizarre to me, this need to declare all the winners and losers. I do it when the trade's made. I'll wear the jersey of the team that I think won the trade. But it's not like it's set in stone, and I'm anyways. We'll see what happens from here. Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.